Mood lighting, because why not? We are examining the question, did Bob Dylan try to sabotage his career for a quarter of a century? Well, I doubt it. I mean, why would he? Why? Huh. Well, let's examine this. March 22nd, 1965, Bringing It All Back Home was an album by him. The first half was electric. The second half was acoustic. It took 3 days to record the album. July 25th, 1965 was the Newport Folk Festival, and he was met with booing. And most of that short tour was met with booing, except he said, I think, for 3 different places that didn't boo him. During this time, Robbie Robertson, the guitar player, had once mentioned that it wasn't that people disliked it. They violently hated it. So don't want any more of that coming from Bob Dylan, right? I mean, you got to appease the fans. July 29th through August 4th, 1965, recording for Highway 61 Revisited. It has been cited as his first purely rock album. It was his first BPI, British phonographic, those words sometimes, phonographic industry, platinum, and MC, Music Canada, gold. June 20th, 1966, he releases his double electric album, Blonde on Blonde, because you know what? Might as well do a double album of electric music. He used emphasized pronunciations while singing. The RIAA, Recording Industry Association of America, went double platinum and second BPI platinum. 18 months later, in late December 1967, to miss Christmas sales, his album John Wesley Harding, he instructed his record company to release it with no promotion and no single, which they begrudgingly obliged. Releasing it so late that it also made it last year's album within a couple weeks. Dylan changed his vocal styling again. Songs on the album were quickly covered by Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, Joan Baez, Fairport Convention, Joe Cocker, Judy Collins, Richie Havens, and many others. They went RIAA Platinum and BPI Gold. Cats, man. Okay, 1968, the Byrds, who had covered many of Dylan's songs and they were friends, radically changed their lineup and sound. And August 1968 released a full-on country album, Sweetheart of the Rodeo, their first album not to chart in the UK and only land at 77 in the US. Rock and country stations would not play this. Roger McGuinn, the lead singer for the Byrds, once made a comment that yes, no record company or radio stations would play this album. He walked into a radio station one time and he saw down the hall a poster of the album and he thought, aha, finally. He gets down there and in permanent marker it says, do not play this album. And the reason for this is because rock fans were like, this is country. We don't want to hear this. Country fans were like, this is a rock band posing as country. Do not play this. It's fake. Right? So that's not going over too well. So what does Bob Dylan do? Well, let's see. April 9th, 1969, the full-fledged country album Nashville Skyline. The first song is a duet with Johnny Cash. Bob changed his vocal styling again for a soft country croon. RIAA Platinum, BPI, and MC Gold. Chris Christopherson had once said Dylan brought a whole new audience to the country scene with that album. Yeah, people loved it. Lay Lady Lay was on that album. 5 years in, and okay, this is not working, obviously. June 8th, 1970, Self-Portrait, a double album of odd covers, live songs, alternate versions, now deliberately aiming for failure, as he stated in interviews as well. It was met mostly with negative reviews by both critics and fans. It was his consecutive #1 hit in the UK and certified RIAA Gold. After a soundtrack, 3 inspired albums, 1978 saw the release of his movie Ronaldo and Clara, and the stressfully recorded album Street Legal, which relied heavily on female backing vocalists, and his world tour were all being met with mostly negative reviews. Street Legal was his first studio album in 13 years not to crack the US top 10. It was noted, though, that Bob Dylan was in good spirits. Well, why wouldn't he be? Everything's crashing. He's like, yeah, man, according to plan. What next? What could Bob possibly do next to alienate his fans even more? A Christian album. A Christian album. Can't make this stuff up, man. August 1979, Slow Train Coming. It was RIAA Platinum, and it was ARIA, which is the Australian Industry Association. And MC double platinum and BPI silver. It was his first #1 in Norway. The single Gotta Serve Somebody was his first hit in 3 years and won a Grammy. He's trying to alienate his audience, and what happens? He gets rewarded for it. Exactly 10 months later, he releases another Christian album, but this time with gospel arrangements, and calls the album Saved. He releases one more Christian album before releasing 1983's Infidels, purposely leaving off a song called Blind Willie McTell, which has been stated and generally agreed upon, I can't really argue this myself either, would not have only been the best song on the album, but his best song from the 1980s. The version of Don't Fall Apart to Me on Tonight that was chosen was subpar compared to an outtake. And after 2 more outtake songs from the sessions were finally available, Infidels was seen as a missed opportunity of a masterpiece album. I do agree. It's a great album. Could have been much better. 3 commercially failed albums followed until 1989's Oh Mercy, and that was deemed as a triumphant return. This started a transition period in Dylan's career that slowly shifted upwards until he himself, under the name Jack Frost, was producing his own albums to critical acclaim. So, we are examining the question, did Bob Dylan try to sabotage his career for a quarter of a century? I would love to know what you think. Put it in the comments below. You know what to do. Okay, I gotta record another video now. Love you guys.